Oh, you know, I did eat dog food once and cat food once.
Did you?
Yes. What a way to start storytelling on the plains. Here's a story for you. Irene ate cat food.
My
ate
sister used to eat cat food when she was like a kid, like a toddler.
mine was, and it's gross. So
I think it might have affected her. I don't know. I just looked at her in horror. I'm just like, I was a very picky kid when I was younger. Even when I was a baby, yeah, I read little excerpts from my baby pictures and stuff. It's like, he held this in his mouth forever. It's like he's gonna be a chef or something. He's so picky. It's kind of bad.
Oh gosh. Well, mine was Meow Mix, and it was the late 70s, and there was a $20 bill on the table, so I ate Meow Mix.
Well, see, no, that's different when you do it for a bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
My sister was just a dumb toddler. She didn't.
Oh, she just ate it to eat it.
Yeah, no, she did it for fun.
No.
She didn't do it because any of us told her to either. We didn't tell her to.
Oh,
like I said, I told her not to. It's like, what are you doing? She just go along with it. It's like, okay, whatever.
I was like 8 or 9, and we agreed on a handful. And I ate the handful, and it was gross, but I was like $20, and
$20, man.
And 1978, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot,
especially to an 8-year-old. Even today, I think $20 would be a lot to an 8-year-old.
$20 in the 90s was still a lot.
Yeah.
Nowadays, kids scoff at it. They won't even shovel you a walk for $20 no more. They won't. $20 is nothing. It's bitcoins or bust.
I guess bust. So. I brushed my teeth so many times that day, I couldn't get the taste out of my mouth. I had the floss, got it out from between my teeth. I picked it out. I used a fork to pick it out of, your back teeth where food can sit on the top. Brushed my teeth all day. That's all I could taste. I swear it was forever. I think it was only for about a day, but it was gross, but I got $20. So... Oh God!
I really wasn't that kind of kid. I had cousins that were like that. That you dare them to drink whatever you could put in this cup, kind of thing, and they just like gulp it down and smile at you. And it's just like, what? I wasn't that kid.
Yeah,
I was so particular.
As adventurous as I got with my drinks was, on the rare occasion we could go out to eat somewhere. And when they first had the soda fountains that you could fill yourself, I'm going to put 90% Coke and 10% Mountain Dew and, try this combination. So a lot of times it tasted like crap, and if my mom caught me doing it, I couldn't just pour it back out. I had to drink the whole container because I decided to take it. So I did not do that often. They weren't really that good. I don't need a chair.
I don't even like Goober. Remember Goober? Hate Goober. I hate it to this day. I never got the point of mixing peanut butter and jelly in the same jar.
Yeah.
Nope. Can't do it.
So
the peanut butter tastes funny.
My hometown had this big company that took up a good chunk of area. I swear it was like 6-7 blocks long. Anyway, it was called Pollock's Fruital Works, Fruital Works, and we knew people that worked there. So remember when they came out with the bubble yum? That was it was regular bubble gum and peppermint, and they had it cut into the little squares, so you got 2 little bits of each, but it was mixed together. I got to chew that about a year and a half before it went on the market. There was also a peanut butter and jelly gum, and my aunt gave it to me because she knew I loved peanut butter and jelly, and it was peanut butter and grape jelly. Oh my God, it was vile. It was so vile. You don't like it? And I never did see it go out on the market, but they would test different things.
Probably why.
Yeah. So I think I was a non-paid tester for Pollock's Fruital Works, but you always knew when they were testing something new because you'd be driving through town. I smell strawberries. You always knew something was going on. But yeah, you're right. The goober stuff was gross. No, because I have a specific ratio of peanut butter to jelly.
I think everybody does.
And
I think trying to assume that you can just do a simple 50-50 and that's
yeah,
gonna do it. Nope,
yeah.
nope.
And my opinion has always been there's a reason why it's called peanut butter and jelly.
And jelly.
You know, the jelly is, for me, the jelly is there so the peanut butter doesn't get stuck to the roof of my mouth. Otherwise, it would just be a peanut butter sandwich. But I digress. My cat is done digging up my chair, so it should be relatively quiet for storytelling on the plains today. Also, we're recording this in the future, but a couple of days ago on Reddit...
We're recording this in the future. Oh, God. We're recording this technically in the past. Everything we say already happened. Just happened now. Everything that's happening is happening now.
I just had two thoughts mixed together. Thank you for catching that, Connor. So a few days ago, it'll probably be several weeks by the time this episode goes out. I was on Reddit. There's some folks that are promoting a newsletter in Omaha. And I forget the name of it now because I'm terrible at this stuff. But they made a post to Reddit that said, hey, here's our newsletter, and we're trying to make the public aware of cultural events that happen in Omaha because, newspapers are crap now, and that stuff isn't out there. And so they were basically trying to drum up some people to subscribe to their newsletter, and it's free, and it's basically a labor of love of a group of nerds. They call themselves nerds.
They do that a lot in the city.
Yeah, and so, I made a comment about how I thought that was cool, and I made a comment about our podcast. I said it's not about current events, it's about history out in the Panhandle, and whoever it was, I wanted to say dude because I call everybody dude. I don't care what you look like, you're a dude. I call my cats dude, so everybody gets called dude. It's just generic.
That's me. That's why I hate the whole, I call people man even if they're girls.
Yeah.
Like, man, you know what I'm talking about, man?
Yeah.
It's like, crap.
Hey, man, how's it going?
I don't mean to say that. Because it's like Cheech and Chong say, hey, man, how's it going?
Yeah, we're not stoned.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. So, this person, because I don't know if it was a male or a female, man or a woman. God, I'm still trying to figure out which is appropriate now because all of it is somehow that's
all
a whole.
It's inappropriate.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
Yeah. So I'm just, you know what? I'm 55. Just blame it on my age. So the person that responded was like, hey, are you guys on Spotify? And I just responded, yep, with the link. And they were like, sweet. So we might have a new subscriber. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. They might like us. They might hate us.
Yeah, they might listen to it and just think, you guys are morons.
Could be.
And there you go. But today we're going to pick back up on part 2 of our 3-part story on the Spotted Tail Agency and Camp Sheridan. And I'll just warn you now, at some point in time, I'm just going to adjust things on the fly because I learned a couple of new things, and I'm lazy and I don't want to go back through our 18 pages of notes to find where it's at to fix it. So when I get to the point, I'm just going to fix it on the fly. Folks listening won't know. Connor will know because he'll see the panic look on my face as I fix things on the fly. He's seen that happen quite a few times. So we will eventually get to Camp Robinson and the Spotted Tail Agency, but I really wanted to keep them separate, even though in real time when they both existed, they did intermingle. They had a lot of things, going back and forth, but I wanted to keep it separate because they are separate, and Camp Robinson became Fort Robinson, and they were kept, so to speak, preserved. Thank you.
I think that's a better one.
Yeah. So they were preserved, whereas Camp Sheridan and the Spotted Tail Agency weren't. So when I do a series on Fort Rob, that's when I'll include all the details then. Because otherwise you end up going down far too many rabbit holes. And then when I get to the Fort Robinson episodes, then I got nothing left to talk about about the agency because we already did it. So we're going to start part 2 here on storytelling on the plains. And where we ended last time, the Spotted Tail Agency was set with Camp Sheridan nearby. And General Sheridan is constantly pressuring the government to get the Lakota to permanent reservations and within the boundaries of the Great Sioux Nation. He whines a lot about this. And all the things that I read, it didn't come across as, hey, can we do this? This is a good thing. This is what we need to do, and this is why. It came across to me as whining, like he was just being a baby about it. He complains that the Indians can't be trusted and need constant watching by the troops. And to me, that came across as him whining that they're like little children that constantly need to be watched. Well, if you didn't take people who naturally roam everywhere and shove them in a tiny space, you wouldn't have to constantly watch them to see if they're going to go off and do something on their own. Mm-hmm. The truth is that at least at the Spotted Tail Agency, it was largely quiet and peaceful there. They had, I don't want to say the least because I haven't been able to see statistics, but I see it over and over in readings that I do, that it was generally peaceful. And if there was some kind of conflict going on, Spotted Tail would go talk to the folks at Camp Sheridan and try and talk and find a peaceful solution. And most people that went to the reservation with him knew and understood, they weren't, it didn't come across to me that they were forced there. I mean, yes, they were forced there, but they had resigned themselves to this is where we're going to be, and then they tried to make the best of it. They weren't constantly thinking about, stealing the military's horses or supplies or, it was more peaceful than a lot of the other places.
So when we go to the past, when the Oregon Trail was still a big thing, though, we talked a lot about Indian raids and people getting attacked. So is a lot of this bitter memories?
Yeah, and a lot of the folks that were at Spotted Tail, they didn't want to be there, but they knew that that's what they had to do to live and survive as a people. So they were generally more peaceful. But folks like General Sheridan and a lot of the other military folks had those encounters with the raids along the trail. And so, of course, no matter what anybody did was going to be seen as negative. Even if Spotted Tail walked up to one of the generals or a lieutenant or a sergeant, whoever, and wanted to talk to them, they're going to walk away going, yeah, those Indians are bitching again. They just didn't have any kind of positive
relationship.
Yeah, and they didn't try to make a positive relationship with them either.
What about Kevin Costner?
Oh, my God.
I thought he tried. I'm just kidding, folks. I'm just kidding.
He was one guy. And he ended up running away with Stands with Fists. I laughed my butt off when the Battlestar Galactica, the re-imaging of that show started, because in the series, the actress that plays Stands with Fist, she was the president of the colonies, and she was having nothing to do with Cylons and was just like, nope, you caught this one. He goes in the airlock, and shot him out the airlock. And then all of a sudden, all these memes were out there, and she was being called Stands with Airlock.
Stands with Airlock. Stands with Airlock.
But in the end, he ended up taking her. She was a white woman. He fell in love with her and took off in a different direction because the military were looking for him.
Are we talking about Dances with Wolves or Battlestar
Galactica? Dances with Wolves, sorry. Yeah, I totally shifted back and didn't tell you I was shifting back. Yeah.
I didn't watch Battlestar Galactica.
And
you're really one of those two kids. You're either a Star Trek kid or a Battlestar Galactica kid, and I was Star Trek.
Okay.
Just didn't get into Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. And my husband happens to like both, and I was more BSG than Star Trek. I did like Next Generation, though, and DS9.
I liked it, yeah.
But
I grew up on Star Trek. I should say my parents didn't like Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
And therefore I wasn't
Okay.
raised with it.
My mom didn't like any sci-fi. The most that I got out of her was, "You're just like your father." And I'm like, he left when I was 3. How am I just like my father? But apparently my father loved sci-fi.
My mom and dad actually liked all sorts of things. They loved MASH and Star Trek and Walker Texas Ranger and all those kind of things.
Okay. Yeah, was not a Walker fan.
Coming back to
our thing.
I guess I guess I lost a bit of my point though. But I was just saying that they were largely peaceful at this time. Was that more because they were subdued?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah. And they pretty, I should have quoted where I found this from, but when I was reading, it just seemed like, all the Lakota just wanted to be left alone. So Spotted Tail was, yes, and Spotted Tail,
like, you pushed me here.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah, just leave me alone.
Yeah. And so they didn't really cause any trouble. They weren't rabble-rousers. And that's just how it was. To me, it's very sad that that's what we did. But just for factual stuff, that's where they were at this point in time. And they just wanted to be left alone. And really, of all the things that I read, the times that Spotted Tail was a pain in the butt was like in our last episode where he said, "I don't want to be this close to the river because I don't want my people this close to all this frickin' alcohol that's coming through." I get it, man. Just move them a little farther away, Anyway. So the trouble that did occur was from the non-agency Indians and the agency residents. So the non-agent, so there was, I need to explain this a little bit. So there were some folks that stayed at the agency that were not Native Americans. They caused issues. And then the folks that weren't at the agency, like Crazy Horse and some folks in his band and some other folks that weren't on the agencies yet, they came and caused trouble. And I get that as well because there was that inner turmoil in the whole greater Sioux Nation of, people like Spotted Tail and Red Cloud were looking at things that they didn't want to go to an agency, but they realized if they didn't, they were going to be wiped out, and they wanted their people to survive, and maybe something would change in the future. And people not just in the Crazy Horse band, he's just the most famous example, didn't want anything to do with an agency and wanted to live free. Mm-hmm. So they're still constantly talking amongst themselves, and there's that inner turmoil of what is the right decision. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I think the white folks didn't understand as well, is you don't have one speaker for the Great Sioux Nation. Each band does their own thing. Mm-hmm. And you might be able, I'm Red Cloud, I can go over to you, Crazy Horse, and say, "Hey man, can we have a talk?" And we can have a talk and sort some stuff out. Mm-hmm. But there wasn't one leader over all of them. And that's one thing I think that the military vastly overlooked. In all of that. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just had a burp.
That's okay. You're allowed to do that, man. It's a biological function. So going back to Sowden, he wrote, beginning in the early 1870s, though, militant Indians from neighboring tribes began to harass and threaten the agent and the residents. Some Minneconjou warriors belligerently interfered with beef issuance by driving off agency herders and taking what they wanted. So again, it's the ones that aren't there that are their idea is that if we interfere with this and we disrupt the beef delivery, Spotted Tail and all his people are just going to pack up and leave the agency, which isn't going to happen. All you've done is tick them off. And now you've ticked off your allies and your enemies. Sitting Bull viewed agency Indians with disdain. He said, "Look at me. See if I am poor or my people either. You are fools to make yourselves slaves to a piece of fat bacon or some hardtack and a little sugar and coffee." And so, you know, I'm sure most people have heard of Sitting Bull. So he's of the same mind as Crazy Horse, that it's just going to destroy you, make you lazy, and then, you know, what do? You're just dependent on the government to exist. At the Spotted Tail Agency, troops were hesitant to police the area because it was supposed to be peaceful, which it mainly was, but also because our winters are brutal and the troops didn't want to get caught out and be trapped. Our winters are getting less brutal, but
if you say so.
They're less brutal than when I moved here, but we also have roads. And what is it, 1 or 2 days, maybe you won't be able to drive on a road if we get a really bad snowstorm, and then it gets plowed in. But, you know, you've got dirt trails here. And if you get caught out in the cold or in not even a blizzard, but the wind blows all the time here.
It does, and it must have been something very different for the pioneers that came out here, even for the military troops that maybe came from the east or from the west, because it is a different climate.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're not used to it, you're screwed. And I think what scared them the most is that all the Native Americans, they were used to it.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what their winters were like, and they know how to get through them really well.
Yep.
So I think that definitely scared them.
Yeah. Eventually, troops were stationed at Camp Sheridan, as it was really the only way to control the non-agency folks from attacking from the north and to create an appearance of peace. Soden also wrote, on March 10th, 1874, troops arrived at Spotted Tail Agency, and the sight of them produced the intended effect on the Indians who had been fomenting trouble. They quickly dispersed, and the agency Indians at Spotted Tail seemed relieved to have the army present. So it seems, even from Soden's research, that the non-agency Indians were the ones causing trouble. And, you know, those folks at Spotted Tail were like, thank you for getting rid of them, because we're not the ones doing that. Mm-hmm. Colonel Smith ordered most of the cavalry back to Fort Laramie due to the lack of sufficient forage for the horses, after which he ordered 60 days of supplies shipped to both agencies. This officially marked the beginning of a military presence at Spotted Tail, and this produced the desired result of creating some measure of stability. The building of fortifications began in earnest, while trenches were dug along the rear of the camp to serve as rifle pits. The process became a regular routine. The grounds were monitored daily, and trash removal was organized. Due to the distance between the Army camp and the Indian camp, there was little disturbance between the two. Water supplied came from the river twice per day, and 2 cottonwood storehouses were constructed near the agency buildings. By April, the Indians had seemingly acclimated to the presence of troops. So it seems like, you know, it's the whole case of, I remember back when Clinton was president, and more government money was used to fund more cops on the street, because you put more cops on the street, your crime goes down. Problem is, if you put all your cops on A Street, your crime just moves to B Street. But this seems to have the desired result. They didn't want to be at the agency, so they moved them to the camp, which they now made permanent. Mm-hmm. And just knowing that they were nearby seemed to kind of quell most of the issues. The military was allocated $30,000 by the Indian Bureau to build a permanent camp. In today's money, that is at least $850,126.32. So that's a lot of money for one small camp. After careful consideration, it was determined the camp and the agency had to move again if these permanent structures were to be built. So even though they put some structures up, they weren't permanent. And the same thing had happened over at Fort Robb. It was called a camp because the buildings were only supposed to be there a short period of time and move on. And then eventually it became...
And we weren't that great builders. We actually built stuff like in... like old adobe.
Yeah.
We try to build adobe forts. And then for everyone that's out here versus like New Mexico, adobe doesn't work out here.
No.
It does not. It melts.
So basically Sheridan said he wasn't going to authorize any more structures to go up because they'd be abandoned as soon as they moved. So, and to some point, he had a point. We're planning on moving, so why build permanent structures? That's a waste of time and resources. Mm-hmm. Spotted Tail said he didn't care about Sheridan's need to farm, thus the necessity of the move. There was no place where they were at for the horses to eat. And your horses don't eat; they're gonna starve. Mm-hmm. And Spotted Tail basically said, "I don't care." Move, whatever, I don't care. Camp Sheridan is then officially named as Camp Sheridan. So temporary buildings were erected, but funding was cut off because the main goal was to protect the agency. So the money they got was all that they got, and it bureaucratic BS. And then they're like, well, you got money to put buildings up, and we're not giving you anymore. So they move to their permanent spot, but then they only get temporary structures, which were only supposed to be temporary till they got the permanent ones built, and no more money. Since Spotted Tail's rule were peaceful, a need for permanent structures was deemed excessive. Yeah, I think that's stupid. We don't need permanent buildings because Spotted Tail's folks are peaceful. They're not going to come and knock your buildings down. So just, put up makeshift stuff. It'll be okay. It's stupid, and they're getting conflicting information. Colonel Sheridan says, I'm not putting permanent stuff up because we're moving. Okay, fine, put up temporary stuff. Okay, and then they move, and they put temporary stuff up to store their stuff so that they can build the permanent stuff, and then they get told, no, we're not having any more money. And Spotted Tail's peaceful. He's not going to screw with your stuff anyway. So they're just getting conflicting information left and right. And, if you think about it, you still hear that kind of crap today about...
Oh, yeah, totally.
We're
gonna spend all this money and then we're going to be out of money.
Yeah, and then you can't have your money for that anyway. Oh, you live in that nether part of the country. Mm-hmm. We don't care about you. Figure it out on your own. Get some trees and build your permanent structure. Okay, no trees on the Great Plains. All right. Just stupid stuff like that. And I think it was even worse then because everybody's, on the East Coast. And so they just assume the rest of the country is like it is on the East Coast when it's a completely different climate.
Yeah, and what's sad is we have everything here in the Midwest for making bricks, but you have to have the quarries to make the mines, to mine the stuff, to make the bricks. Now we have that, but before that we didn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So Soden, I relied quite heavily on Soden. I enjoyed his article quite a bit. He wrote, troops stationed at the post never felt overtly threatened by the Indians, nor were they apprehensive about sudden outbreaks of violence. Spotted Tail was adept at keeping his people under control and exercised his authority judiciously in order to maintain peace at his agency. The post officers became rather fond of Spotted Tail, who managed to ingratiate himself to those with whom he interacted. I wouldn't use the word ingratiate just because of the connotations it has today.
Yeah, I wouldn't say ingratiated himself. I just...
Today it has a slightly different meaning than it did then. It's the whole thing of calling a woman a handsome. And so, additionally, officers got on well with Agent Howard, who considered his relationship with the military of an amicable and satisfactory character. So, y'all are stuck in this space. We're in this situation. Spotted Tail's the dude that's kind of in charge of all the Native Americans. So he goes and talks to the military often. At some point in time, you're going to get to know him well. Hey, how's your wife? How's your kid? Your kid was sick last week. How's he doing? Hey, we're having dinner on Friday night. Do you want to come for dinner? It doesn't mean that they're friends. It's just, you know them. You're all stuck in this situation. We're all just trying to be nice. And today the word ingratiate has a definite negative tone to it, at least for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So it was not meant that way when Soden wrote this. So given its location, it was difficult to supply the agency. It was also difficult to build things because of the land, the weather, and the lack of proper food and rest for the troops. A lot of letters were sent to command complaining about a variety of things, including how some soldiers had to work harder than others at different tasks. Connor, does that sound like jobs you and I have had?
Yeah.
Connor doesn't work as hard as I do. I deserve a raise because Connor just stands around all day. And then Connor's like, you haven't fed me in 2 days, and I'm not going out in the 100-degree sun and shoveling for 12 hours with no water. There's always two sides to those kind of stories. But that's kind of the things that happened there. Whenever anyone requested leave, they were denied because there wasn't sufficient replacements available. I would imagine morale in the camp sucked pretty bad, and I can sympathize with everyone when it comes to the Nebraska winters. I really don't like the winter and the wind blowing and my face hurting, just to step outside and get the mail.
Well, I guess could be other reasons why they were denied at that time, and at least when you're out this far in the dead of winter, where are you going to go? And how far are you going to... You can't go west because you have the whole problem of the Rockies. Yeah. So you have to go east. But even east is going to be a bit of a hell to get to in the winter.
Yep.
So, what are you going to do? Go visit New York?
Yeah, and where are they going to get people to come in? They just have X number of people are stationed at the camp. That's all we have. Mm-hmm. And it's wintertime. You're stuck there. Maybe in June you can have a vacation when they can get some folks there. And
by now are the tracks in?
Yes. I believe so.
So I guess they have some sort of way to get out. They have the railway, at least, to get out.
If you can get in, because even that was still an issue.
As we discussed.
Yes.
In episode something or other about the broken bridge.
Yes. Yes. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't know what episode. What was it? Freight number 116. But yeah. See, I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I'll be like, oh yeah, I did a podcast episode on that. No idea what number it is, but I think this is what I called it. And we've only done 72 episodes. So.
Only? I like how you say only. I think that's...
I'm looking forward to 100, because you know what? When we started, I didn't even think we'd get to 50.
Yeah.
And when we hit 60, the place that hosts our podcast was like, hey, would you like to put some ads on your podcast? And I said, yes, but not in the episodes. Put it at the beginning and the end. But I don't know any metrics of that. I haven't looked yet. There are, you have to make certain amount and they'll pay out. Haven't gotten a check yet.
Yeah, you check in the mail yet. Oh well.
I haven't gotten a check in my PayPal account, which I had to go back and figure out how to use because I haven't used it in forever. So anyway, the Nebraska winters were difficult, both for the soldiers and for the Indians. For the former, the below-freezing temperatures were hard to endure, especially during guard duty. The The post medical officer was asked to report on the necessity of ear flaps for those stationed outdoors. The agency issued blankets to the Indians, among other things, in order to cope with the cold. Yet these were often in short supply at Spotted Tail Agency. In the winter of 1877, for example, Indians complained that those at Red Cloud were receiving more blankets than they were. So, again, we have those issues. I have a feel for the guards. When I grew up in New York, you get snow in New York State. It's a wet snow. It's warmer. I grew up an hour and a half north of New York City. So because the Hudson River is there, and if you just drive from my hometown east about 30 minutes, you're going to drive into the Hudson River. So it stays warmer longer even though you get winter. It doesn't get bitter cold like it does out here. And my freshman year in college, my entire life, I wore a jean jacket. In October, I called my mom. Mom, can you send some money via Western Union? Why? I'm like, I'm freezing. I don't even have gloves. And my roommate that year, our schedule just happened to mesh on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was when I was going to my first class. She was coming home after 2 classes, and she would take her gloves off and hand them to me. And she had like a 2-minute walk back to our dorm. And then I kept the gloves till my mom sent me some money for some gloves. And I was like, this jean jacket ain't working. This is terrible. And I had to buy a proper jacket.
Yeah, and I take it for granted because I grew up here all my life. But all my life we have cold winters.
Yep.
We do. I warn people. It's like it's a combination of the wind, not so much the snow. And just there's days in the winter I'll get negative 30 easily.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying when it gets that cold, I could see, especially unfortunately soldiers being soldiers, they have strict rules about presenting yourself. Mm-hmm. So all these men didn't have long hair. They were probably short cut, ears out, which is a detriment in the cold, having your ears out. There's probably a reason why the Native Americans had long hair, by the way. Come to think about it, it's like, they were probably smarter than we were. But yes, they would cut their hairs and they'd wear these uniforms that most of them, if you see the old style uniforms, are much like today's uniforms. It's something about sticking the ears out and just not covering them.
Yeah.
It was a European thing, and now it's an American thing. I don't know why. It doesn't seem smart.
No.
I'm with Russia.
Yeah.
They're like, screw you.
We're covering our ears.
Everything.
Yep.
It's cold, damn it. Who cares about how you look?
Yeah. And so I get it why they requisitioned some hats with ear flaps, and then the military asked the post doctor why do they need them, and the post doctor's like, dude, you want to come out here and
totally. Their ears are getting lost to frostbite.
Yes, yeah. Just give them the hats with the flaps. And the Native Americans, because they were on the agency, they hadn't been out and hunted, so they didn't have the bison skin to keep them warm.
To keep them warm.
So they're waiting on blankets so they can be warm. I totally get that. I have acclimated. I ended up, when we moved out here, I wasn't sure how long it would take me, so I had this big, giant puffer jacket, and I wore it maybe a couple of weeks the first year I was here, and it was a New York Mets jacket, so I packed it up and I mailed it to my uncle, and he was ecstatic. He's like, oh my God, I love this jacket. Because I just don't need it. I acclimated, and I have winter jackets, but they're much lighter than what most people would have. And there's a guy I watch on YouTube, and he lives in the suburbs of Chicago, and he played this he does a lot of reaction videos. And there's this lady that, she looks like she's in her early 30s, just moved to Chicago from Southern California. And she's got this big old puffer jacket on. And she's like, everybody keeps telling me that winter's not even here yet. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Yeah, I'm like, it gets worse. If you're wearing a puffer jacket already, you ain't going to make it through winter. And he basically said the same thing, and he's like, you got to get used to it. You got to get used to it. Mm. And, when I went to Hong Kong, oh my God, the humidity there is horrendous. And Paul was literally doing the take your t-shirt off and wring it out, and it was gross. And then he would put it back on. I'm like, dude, we totally could get you a clean shirt. You didn't have to do that. It's like, all right, it's all right. We'll be back to the hotel in a few hours. We're on vacation. Nobody cares. I'm like, okay. We were there 16 days, and by about day 13, I was starting to get used to the heat. Because when we arrived, we saw white guys walking around with long sleeve dress shirts and ties, and we're going, how, dude? I got a t-shirt, and I purposely didn't bring jeans because I didn't want heavy clothes, and I'm dying.
Oh, yeah, you get used to it.
But you get used to it. But these guys, they're just out there for a short term, so they were not used to it, and they were freezing their butts off. So Soden goes into detail about how the food ration quality was substandard, likely due to the low prices the government paid for them. He also noted there were also rumors that the contractors were deliberately furnishing the lowest quality of beef, not out of necessity, but in a deliberate act of fraud in order to maximize their profit. Indian families were often seen begging for food outside of both Camp Robinson and Camp Sheridan. So there were issues with the rations, but when the Brule complained, it was decided to wait until summer when the northern non-agency Indians left the area to sort out something new to do. And the government didn't want to feed anybody not specifically attached to the Spotted Tail agency. So you essentially had government contractors purposely shifting shady meat so they could maximize their profits. And there are many stories about when they arrived on the trains that the meat already had maggots on it.
And this wasn't unique to this part of the world.
No.
In 1870s.
Yeah, no.
This was going on everywhere. This was going on in New York.
Yeah.
This was going on in big cities as well as small towns as well as military outposts. So yeah, the beef industry in the 1850s, almost up until the early 1900s, was horrific. There was no government oversight
for anything.
And
if you're shipping shady, close to expiration meat, and your warehouse is in, let's say, Jersey, yeah, it's going to have maggots on it by the time it gets out here to western Nebraska by the train. You didn't have the refrigeration that you have today where you can just flash freeze it and it'll be fine, even though it's still near expiration food. And on top of that, you've got non-agency Indians coming to the edge of the agency begging for food, because you also have going on the government exterminating wildlife. So because they were under the impression, if we murder all the bison, y'all will come to the agencies, or you'll starve to death, one of the two. So these folks are like, we're not finding food, so they come to the agency to ask. Now, I can tell you, Connor, if we were in a situation which, the country might end up in, but if you came to my house and you're like, hey, I need food. Jason and I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'd be like, get your asses in my house. We'll share what we have. Even if I have meager rations in my house, I'm still going to share it with you because nobody deserves to starve. And that's just I know people will say that's a Native American thing. That's just a human thing.
Yeah, that's just you're gonna do that.
Yeah, and you're gonna provide what you can. I've read many Holocaust stories of people that somehow managed to swipe an extra piece of bread, and then later on, they find out that someone they knew didn't get any food. Because they looked at a guard wrong and got smacked upside the head and then didn't get food. They're going to break that meager piece of bread they have and give it. Now, granted, there were people that were like, yeah, no, that's my little piece of bread. But for the most part, people would share what they have. And it's just a human thing. And the answer to could we please have some more food was no, we're going to wait until June when the weather's better and these people that are coming to beg have gone someplace else, so we don't have to feed them. That's just cruel to be cruel. So Camp Sheridan also had a problem with horse theft and desertion. Horses were vital to farming and transportation and life in general out here, and it was so significant that the death of a horse was noted in military logs, whose horse died and what the horse died of. Soden wrote, desertion was often the result of the isolation and grim routine endured by enlisted soldiers serving on the plains. About a third of the enlisted men stationed out here between 1867 and 1891 deserted. Army recruiting methods were disorganized and inconsistent and resulted in undesirable and totally unfit enlistees. They were basically taking anyone that would come out here because nobody wanted to come out here. The low pay, poor food quality, disillusionment, and drudgery of garrison life also compelled soldiers to abandon their duties. Punishments were meted out in accordance with the circumstances of the offense and could range from fines and incarceration to dishonorable discharge. An entry from December 2nd, 1874 highlights one such incident. A Private Herrick from Company F, 9th Infantry, was arrested and confined at Fort Laramie after being charged with desertion and horse theft while traveling with a detachment from the fort to Camp Sheridan. He was described as unreliable, and it was recommended that he be dishonorably discharged. Captain Monahan of the 3rd Cavalry and in command of Camp Sheridan in October of 1878 delivered a scathing assessment of the issue of horse theft. After one particular incident in which several mules were stolen and taken to Red Cloud Agency by thieves who could have been Indian or white, he wrote, in connection with this subject, I would desire to say that the country is at present time literally swarmed with horse thieves who are ready to depredate upon white men or Indians as opportunity may offer. There is no civil officer to take cognizance of offenses committed by this class, even if found in the act of stealing, and the few honest citizens who are scattered throughout the country cannot protect themselves. The horse thieves are particularly dangerous in the vicinity of the Indian reservation and may at any time cause serious trouble. I would respectfully suggest that vigorous means should be used by the proper authority to rid the country of such a dangerous element. So basically everybody who thought they could steal a horse stole a horse and then tried to sell it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter who you are.
And like they said in this, it was throughout the entire country. It wasn't just here.
Yeah.
Everybody was stealing horses.
And
it's not like they were really that hard to steal, especially if they were well trained. It's just like, oh, yeah.
Just go over, grab them, hop on them, and take off. So you just exacerbate the problem of not having enough horses by continually stealing horses and shifting them all around. I'm the type of person that would probably get attached to my horse, so my horse would probably come inside with me at night, or I would sleep with my horse to make sure he didn't get stolen. I'm a dork that way. But regardless, everybody was swiping horses. So in general, for the enlisted man, life sucks out here. You have backbreaking labor with no relief. There aren't enough men to do the jobs that need to be done, and you have to build buildings quickly and not to spec before winter arrives. Otherwise, you're going to freeze, and all your crap is going to freeze and get snowed on and get ruined. You sometimes have to go chasing after the horse thieves yourself. You don't get enough sleep. Life is miserable, and I can see why they desert. They're not used to a winter in general out here, and then they're not provided with the means to survive. They're just given basics, and they don't understand how to use those.
Well, this is much different for a soldier's life. If you think about it, I mean, no, this isn't the Revolutionary War. This isn't the Civil War. You're not preparing for war. You're just really just stabilizing a country and making it a country. And so you're doing a lot of the boring work.
Yeah.
That is kind of common in the military today.
Yes.
If you go into the military, a lot of people that have been there hopefully won't cut the crap with you. It's like, look, just so you know, there's exciting bits in the military, but there's a lot of boring bits in between.
Boring, mundane stuff.
Day by day, like rigorous tasks, and you get to do some fun stuff in between.
Yeah.
So basically it's like any job.
Yeah. And I often wonder too, I don't know if you ever heard it when you were growing up, but like if you were bad in the military, you got sent to Alaska because that was like way out in the middle of nowhere and no one ever wanted to go there. I wonder if folks,
I don't think that getting sent to the Army was a punishment yet. I couldn't
No, I mean
imagine
you're
it
already
being
in
so.
the military and you're being
sure.
sent
You're just
out
like a shitty
here.
soldier. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can totally see you.
Yeah.
Just you got Ernest out.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, Ernest, out to Nebraska with you. I'm sorry, you're too stupid to know the right way to hold a rifle, dude. Out.
Don't want to be anywhere near you. Then in March 1875, the Army gets told they need to enforce the terms of the treaty. And that's where we're going to stop for today's episode. If you come back for the next one, you'll learn more about Camp Robinson, Spotted Tail Agency, and what happened when they tried to enforce the terms of the treaty. And I see you, Connor, looking to see how many pages are left. You're like, oh my God, can we do that today?
You can.
So we're hanging out here, March 1875. I can tell you, it was probably cold out here. But you're probably listening to this in the warmth of your home, maybe at least out of the cold of your FedEx truck. I don't know if they have heat in them.
They do.
Do they?
We're not UPS. We're not monsters.
I was gonna. I always
just joking. UPS, just joking.
My UPS driver honks when he pulls up, and I always look to try and gauge. And man, there's some days he steps off that truck and he's dripping in sweat, and I'm like, "Here, dude, have 2 bottles of water," because he's dying out there. Our FedEx driver he's rude because he turns his music up, so even with all the windows closed, I can tell what music he's listening to. It's crap. If he would put some Zeppelin on when he came to deliver something to me, it'd be so much better. But it's garbage music.
I tried to make sure I turn mine down when I get to a place, because you're roaring down the dirt road. You really do have to turn it up, because you can't hear. Those things just echo. They're just a giant echo box, and you can't hear nothing in there.
I have a little Toyota Yaris, so it's not the highest quality vehicle, but it gets me where I need to go. And it's a 5-speed. And when I pull into the garage, I usually have an audio book on in my car. Mm-hmm. And when I pull in the garage, oh my God, how did I have this up so loud? So anyway, they didn't have those back then. They had to learn to play the banjo or a mouth flute, a harmonica.
Mouth flute.
And so come back next time, and we'll tell you the rest of the story. For now, I'm Irene.
And I'm Connor.
And this is Storytelling on the Plains.